It's been a week. People really like this show.
People love it.
Looking at the internet, it's really difficult to find discourse.
It's basically been this mourning period of remember how incredible these last 6 weeks were and how we finally came together on social media with the memes and the conversation and just the overall general feeling of how we felt watching this TV show. It's been fun to kind of reminisce in this last week and just say, hey, this was as good as we hoped it would be. We're at the end now. We've seen it all. It was as good as we wanted it to be, truly. And didn't we have the greatest time of all time?
It's almost a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
But when you're, like I said, we were looking for discourse. How are folks feeling about it? And there was more action within the season because we were still weighing the judgment of this whole thing before it was done. And it was, like we talk about on the show and like everyone listening and writing and owns, it's kind of a little miniature sport. Like, how are they going to adapt this book that we like? And how will mainstream television audiences take it? And who are they going to choose to play these parts? Like, what's the full approach of this going to be like? But now that we've seen the whole thing, the feeling that I'm seeing reminds me a lot of post season 4 of Game of Thrones, where we're all looking forward to the future, but also feeling like really smug
and triumphant
about how it just went. Yeah, triumphant. Yeah.
Like we didn't do anything, but we're like, we did it.
For me personally, I'm just relieved. It's so fun to have something that was fun for all of us during GOTs happen again. And I think a lot of that positive reaction, we've been talking about it all season, but a lot of that positive reaction is from the relief that a lot of us are feeling that it wasn't lightning in a bottle, but that Westeros is this world and it is a playground to create really fun stories in. And if you hire good enough people to work on those things, then those stories will connect with folks on HBO, even not just the side television network. We're not watching, what was that one show from the early 2000s with the magical mirror that was just on Amazon. I forget what it was called, but a lot of people this past week have been sort of looking at the fantasy genre at large on television and comparing it to the public's reaction to United Seven Kingdoms, and also sort of looking retroactively at Game of Thrones. And people are saying you like it because like this is the best version of that stuff that you've ever seen before. But I think it's a little bit more than that. I think that it's not just us seeing a good version of a genre that everyone really deeply feels because we grew up seeing half attempts at it. And I don't think that's why Lord of the Rings was so successful either, but that was a really deftly done fantasy adaptation on so many different levels, from the artistry of how they adapted the lines, from the way that they tried to make every shot look like a painting, etc. And they're doing a similar thing in this show, and they did a similar thing in Game of Thrones, and they're doing the same thing on the Amazon show on Prime right now. So what's the difference? What's the difference between this television show and all the others that people are liking? A Night of the Seven Kingdoms was head-to-head with The Pitt on HBO as far as the viewership count during this season. I haven't seen The Pitt yet. Maybe we should talk to some people about
do our homework.
What is on The Pitt. But I assume that it's as good as A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. It's got to be. Or the people on it are so hot that you're watching that instead of Pornhub or something, right? Like it's taking up half. Something's got to be going on there. That's not really the case on this show. But, we haven't seen who's going to play Sir Bennis in season 2.
So
we don't really know yet. But my point is, like, what is the difference between those things? Because it's not just about it looking good. It can't just be Westeros. Because any fantasy world, if written well enough, and I think we're getting closer now, if written well enough, invokes the same things that I think is happening here. Because it isn't any fantasy world just a playground for the story to happen within. So why are we all getting emotional over Steely Pate? Why are you getting texts about how good the show is? Why am I getting texts about how good the show is? I think it's because for some reason, the Hedge Knight and Night of the Seven Kingdoms really crams in almost all of the things that are interesting to us as people. The truths of our human reality. It's like George almost used an early version of ChatGPT to get like every how do I cover all of these bases?
Yeah.
Just watching this final episode and seeing Egg have his own private bedroom while Rowan, Raymond's new wife, a guy that she married because of reasons at the end of the con, like you were saying, big last day of the con energy. I'm going to get with this guy because I don't know what's going to happen for the next 10 months before we all come back together again, etc. Was so she's pouring out her own piss in this episode, and she's having to marry this guy, even though it's going to be good. I mean, life is expressing itself differently in Westeros for these two people, and that wasn't even something that required a close up. That was just the decoration in the show that was necessary for Egg had to be by himself in a room for that scene.
Yes.
But it just so happens that in Ashford, he gets a private bedroom, and this girl had to get with this guy to secure a future that was not, on the side of the road, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's doing that while we're getting these fun moments with people like Dunk, people like Egg. The list could go on.
Yeah.
But I just think that it was so ambitious to do it like this. And I'm watching this last episode and I'm like, why is this working on other people? I know why I'm seeing Peter Claffey portraying Egg in this scene, talking to Mykar. I know why him saying that he's done with Princes at the moment means something to me. But like, how is the penny being nailed into the tree emotionally reaching the heart of people that are strangely obsessed with fantasy books still?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I just think the show
it just hit.
They hit it.
It was just good. And I think it's really neat that this is something that appeals to both sides of the story, both sides of the coin, so that our grandmas can turn it on and enjoy it in the same way that we can turn it on and enjoy it and make it so appealing to both the people who are really deep inside the narrative and people who are just looking for 30 minutes to watch something when they get home from work, kind of like this lighthearted thing. But I think it really comes down to, you think about the energy and the space that George was in when he wrote The Hedge Knight, and how it's the holidays, he's just trying to get this thing in, short story in, so he can make it into this publication. He's got a quick deadline. He's like, oh, great. Got to do a quick turnaround.
The deadline is what he said.
Last second opportunity here, and he really wants to be in it, and he's writing Game of Thrones. He's kind of in it with this book series that isn't as popular yet as it is now. It's just so true, and there's it's unabashedly just what it is, and it's not necessarily trying to be too specific about what it's trying to tell you or teach you, and it's not an opportunity to preach or be a teaching moment or all these different kinds of things that I think people take their art as an opportunity to do those things. I have no problem with that, but I think that this is just true, and it's from the heart, and it already had so much heart and soul, and already had this kind of cult following.
It's in Westeros.
We all love people who've read A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms novellas. People who've read The Hedge Knight have, all of them feel this type of way about it. And so I think the fact that the heart and the spirit and the vibe was already there, and Ira Parker and company took that and they didn't try to change it. They just tried to tell the story that was available to them. And I think it's just a special thing. And I think back to us pre-episode 1, looking at George at all the press release or at all the press events, going, oh, it's so nice that George is involved in this. Little did we know how much his heart and his writing and his spirit of why we like what he writes was able to carry over into
really carry over
the TV adaptation. And he's a incredible storyteller. And so I think that's why it hits on so many different levels, is because it's just true. And it wasn't written for a specific thing. It was just written and put out there while he was in the universe, in the Westeros universe. And I think that that's a really cool little nugget that they've been able to extract from the earth. You know what I mean?
Literally, we're all super lucky. It's really strange that things, even though it's super popular and old stuff that we all really liked years ago, are all pretty much one-to-one being remade at this point.
Yeah.
Even with that reality, it's still kind of, when you think of, when we thought for years about Dunk and Egg being adapted, it's like one of those. It's a moonshot. You would have thought that they would give us Aegon's Conquest, or that they would give us whatever they were trying with Blood Moon or the Children of the Forest, the First Men, etc. before something like this. But man, what a perfect storm that people would be hungry for just a TV show.
I know.
I mean, how lucky for everyone that the world would be so hungry for just a TV show. And HBO, how good of them to put out a TV show for once that was just a TV show. I mean, how many years has it been since they haven't put that out?
Here's the thing,
True Detective season 1?
True. But the thing is that this is a heavy, like, this isn't just a TV show. This is a story about Bloodraven, who ultimately is the mastermind behind so many things that happen in A Song of Ice and Fire. So I hear what you're saying. 100% agree with you. It's just also funny that this my silly little night show, as people are saying, is the crux on which A Song of Ice and Fire kind of turns, you know? And so it's a very cool way to tell that story and to deal with that situation, because it is so nonchalant yet deeply serious. And I think that's why it resonates without trying to be too pointed, you know? So that's kind of where I see it in my brain. And I think that to watch people have that conversation and to watch people start to have that conversation, because I don't know about you, but I've had more than one conversation over the past week of people who, I just started Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I'm about to binge it. Mm-hmm. So there's still this entire
it's still coming
group of people who are about to discover it, seeing the hype that's been happening. And I think that conversation, that discourse, all of that is going to continue over the next couple of months while we roll into Hot D season 3, just because people are still watching it and they're still just, I was going to wait till it was over. Now let's get into it.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what those numbers are. And again, just like during the GOT days, all of us weird people on the internet, we all are paying attention to how many people are watching Night of the Seven Kingdoms, because its success somehow validates us personally. And this was tweeted out from Warner Brothers today. The HBO original is currently averaging more than 14 million viewers in the US and 26 million globally. Night of the Seven Kingdoms finale rides to a series high with 9.5 million US viewers.
Go.
So everyone tuned in after the Trial of the Seven.
Yeah. It makes sense, I think that things started off slow from a conversational standpoint and from a social media standpoint. That's the best way you can kind of keep your pulse on if people are watching it. No one was talking to us about it and nobody was tweeting about it, and that was just the reality. But as soon as the Trial of the Seven episode hit and you're getting all those edits all over social media, all over TikTok, everywhere, it's like, oh, okay, so this is actually worth watching.
For me, I would say it happened, Egg's reveal was really the start of it for how I saw the activity and at least what was happening in my phone.
True, yeah.
But it was a creep, and I think that we're, like we were saying, going to see more after the fact.
Just like we did,
at least for the next couple weeks.
Just like we did in early Game of Thrones, just like we did in those first couple of seasons when people actually started to catch on and get up to speed. So it's, all I can think of is that word I said at the beginning. It's like, it's triumphant. We get to celebrate it and get to kind of look back with excitement, and we're not kind of closing the chapter and being like, well, move on to the next thing. I'm like, when are we rewatching this so that we can do our entire season recap? Because I'm looking forward to that.
It was fun rewatching today.
Yeah.
I think that GOT had so much variation in it that we could really all project a different part of ourselves into different parts of the show. And so it really allowed for that ability for lots of different kinds of people to be so excited about it, like you're saying. And I think that what you're saying about the scale of the story not being as simple as it seems, yes, that's totally true. But even the novella it's through these two. It's through Dunk and Egg. And I think that in a similar way that GOT almost had no agenda because there were so many agendas canceling each other out, this, other than these small shadows of Egg that we're seeing, and even some of the shadows in Dunk that the show is trying to paint, which are all present and true in the novella still in their own way, but a little less obvious.
Right.
I think that they are pretty neutral. And I think that we can kind of all cheer for them. We can kind of all cheer for this
Mm-hmm.
show.
Mm-hmm.
If you like this, it doesn't mean that you think that only girls should be queens.
Yeah,
If
right.
you like this, it doesn't mean that you think that only Robert Baratheon should be able to make the 8 for the rest of his life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm seeing lots of different opinions about why this show is popular, and I think that it's the relief in the moment of just being what it is. And it's so funny that HBO would have the gall to take advantage of that when they take advantage of every other potential trend to get slightly more hype around their prestige TV shows. But it works.
Yeah.
It works, and there's a lot worse things happening in the world right now.
I know. This is a reprieve. And
For
I mean,
sure.
I'm looking forward to that energy carrying over into Hot D season 3. Like, I think it really is going to bolster and boost what this off season looks like for us and what the beginning of Hot D season 3 looks like. So shout out and cheers. I mean, it's been so fun to rewatch this and kind of be reminded of that without the pressure of it being finale night, you know? Because I think that we all put so much onto it on finale night. At least I did. To be able to step away and be like, okay, it's over. We've had our mourning period. Let's rewatch and get confirmation of what we already knew, which is this is a great episode.
We're not crazy. The second that Sweetfoot scurried up to Dunk, I began to lose it again.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the first time I saw the finale. I know it's ridiculous. It's crazy. I can't even talk about it right now, guys, for God's sakes. But when he runs up, Sweetfoot runs to Dunk.
I know. I know.
Basically from there, it's just so sweet.
It is. The ending is so incredibly sweet when Raymond gives him the apple and they're talking about going back to the orchard. I mean, it is so sweet. And I think that some of the critiques that I had for my first viewing of this still stand true a little bit, and we'll dive into those. But I mean, the heart of this episode was everything you could hope for from a send-off, and particularly this very last final couple of minutes that we get with Dunk, with Egg, with Sir Arlen, with Raymond, with the horses, kind of dialing it back down into, as we've been saying, what the heart of this entire thing is about. I think that it could not have been a more beautiful send-off.
It's just fun that we all get to cheer for that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Out of all the things that we could cheer for. And we're like all lucky that Westeros is tempting enough as an offering to pull people in to watch it otherwise nondescript tale. But then, you get to watch it and you see Sam Spurrell's performances at Mycart in this episode.
He was...
Man.
Yeah.
Many of those... I felt like when I was watching him, particularly when he told Dunk to speak quickly when they were walking back into Lord Ashford's chamber at the very end of the episode, he sounded more like a Targaryen than I probably heard anyone sound like one on screen. He was really nailing that I'm a real person, but also I was born Blood of the Dragon. So this mantle is thrust upon me. And I felt it pretty clearly in this episode, that difference between them and other people.
Completely.
Felt it pretty clearly. And other times it's a bit stately and it's a bit courtly, but having it be so down in the dirt and having Maekar really open-handedly ask him to take Dunk after all of that.
Well, you see him put aside his pride.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We just haven't seen that immediate of a shift between a single Targaryen and another small folk like this. Usually there's so much more pageantry around it.
You think about like the Dany Tyrion combos we were robbed of between Game of Thrones, but I think
we kind of got big ones instead of all the small ones we could have had.
But putting that pride aside, because you see it in his face, and I noticed that too, just how standout he was. You see him really. It takes so much for this man to ask Dunk to take his kid. After everything that's happened at this rando tournament, and after what just happened with his brother, and all the grief and the pain that he's feeling, yet the mantle of the fact that he is the Blood of the Dragon. And that he does have, there's nobody coming to save him.
It's like Raymond I have to go get a job doing cider.
Time to be a big boy.
You got to do it. Now, I'm the Blood of the Dragon.
Nobody else is coming to fix the situation. And Dunk in that scene is so, I don't want to call him helpless because he wasn't helpless and he was really kind of grieving and standing on his own business in the best way that he knew how. But you could really tell the difference between the two of them and their energies and kind of the grief that they carry. Just because Dunk is young and he's confused and he's new to this whole thing and he's just a little kid from Flea Bottom and he kind of has this very immature viewpoint of what it means to be a person. And then you have Maekar over here who is filled with generational trauma and he just killed his brother and his kids are all out of whack, but he still has to be the guy in charge. And he has to put all of that aside and look at this hedge knight in the eye and say, will you take my kid? Hello? It was really just so intensely jumped out to me this watch through in a way that I don't think I really, because I wasn't really like looking at it, that's like one of the downsides of like trying to take notes and things, you're not always kind of caught up in the narrative. And I just was so impressed with his performance in this episode. Same. What did you think on the rewatch? Because there's been so much conversation about him and that final cut scene. Or that final scene at the end where he can't find Egg.
Well, I think it rules.
There's been kind of like 50-50 on that. And some people saying that this kind of downgrades Maekar's character and kind of his performance in this episode.
No,
it takes away from who he was that we read in the novellas.
I think it makes sense. I think that the novella, we talked about it last week, but the novella is really warm at the end. And it almost is in a state of unreality after Baelor's death.
Yeah.
And it all makes sense canonically because Maekar swinging the mace that would take down the would-be best king since Aegon the Dragon is a big deal. Having Maekar be not in complete agreement with what Dunk pitches him for his small child, especially after all this real stuff has been happening. And
his last son.
He's still not technically. I have to talk about that with you. What the hell? And they still have this long ride back to King's Landing.
Yeah.
Just all this contextualized for the TV show watcher. If we want to avoid those like fast travel moments, I think this kind of levity is good. It works well in a book because stuff like that happens in books all the time.
Yeah. Yes.
And the way that the book ends is so warm. It's like the end of this. And how do you do that with a TV show? They did it. But I think that if that's the last thing that you leave people with, maybe only 40% of us, 30% of us will go,
sure.
And all was well.
Yeah.
But when you walk away from it feeling that, and then they cut across the bow with the 16 tons. Like,
I know.
Oh, and you're like, oh, you sons of bitches.
I know.
What a show.
Yeah.
So I just think it added to all of that.
Yeah.
And did it hurt Maekar in the process? No. I think it makes total sense that he, at first, would need a lot more talking into and maybe even a little push to agree with this crazy plan.
Mm-hmm. I think some people are worried that Egg didn't take the boot with him. Well, so he doesn't have
really funny. There's photographic evidence of him in this scene that we have on screen and the last scene, and his ring is missing.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah. So Ira.
He stole it.
Ira.
See, okay, so that's I kind of had the similar, I didn't notice that, but in the conversation of, does he have it? It's like, well, our boys are on the run. They made it out. And of course, Egg is going to prepare himself to, maybe not, but I could imagine that he would take something or bring something with him. That doesn't necessarily negate that plot line if Maekar didn't give his blessing to send him on his way.
Who knows how it's good. They could have also just honestly forgotten the ring.
Maybe, sure. No. Well, we're gonna.
But I like that. I like this better.
If only the AMA had not yet happened on Reddit, we could ask the question and we get a straightforward answer.
I'm trusting for however they handle the boot. I'm just gonna wait until season 2 for that to be a real problem.
Completely. And with how well, it's in the spirit of how things have been handled across the board. So it definitely isn't a detraction from what the show has felt like and been like. And also you think about, they didn't know they were going to have a season 2 when they filmed this.
Sure.
So,
I think a lot of people also really love that character and want to protect him.
Yeah.
So it's understood.
I love that character even more now. We got so many, I've seen so many comments of people saying, why do I love him so much? Like, I'm not supposed to be obsessed with this guy, but Sam Sorrell's performance just, knocks it out of the park.
Literally a week after, and I'm still going, I'm so glad this TV show exists because it makes me like the book better.
Yes, which is a wild thing to think when we are obsessed with the Hedge Knight.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
And on the subject of things that the show has been doing from the first episode. We haven't given it an official title, but let's just say something that's a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms energy. So Arlen's 3-foot dick, etc. Right?
Bodily functions.
There we go. That's a much kinder way to put it. Like if you're pouring out pee and also really stressed out about a decision and also someone's funerals today and another person called it a roast.
Yeah. Yeah.
If all that's true at the same time, then I think it just really has been serving to add to more texture. And maybe it's just beyond our like creativity to know it's the thing that it needed.
Right.
I don't know. I'm trying to independently look at those things, but you were just telling me before we recorded that even this episode, this finale got an 8.6 on IMDb.
Yeah, it did.
And so across the board, critically in some way, folks are, I don't think, just relieved. I don't think that all of this review bombing is based on all of that alone. So I've been sort of stalwartly annoyed about things like we had to read comments that said, I liked the fart, LOL.
I know.
Like, it's with so much great work being done on this, it's almost a gut reaction of a fan to be like, don't put diarrhea in the first 30 seconds.
Extremely bold move. You got to be feeling yourself and what you think you can accomplish if you're going to do that, in my opinion. It's a bold move.
Or you're dumb as hell.
Yeah, but that's the same thing.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's the same exact thing.
But it's successful and I loved it.
Well, you look at Lionel.
I'm glad Sir Harlan's got a huge
I know. We all are. He
it.
deserves it. But you look at Lionel talking about his very genuine feelings on the Targaryen family. You get him talking about the gods don't favor a fraud. You know, that whole conversation that he had, and he's peeing, off the side on the river.
Well, that's real shit. I think he was actually peeing in that scene too. I don't think they hosed him up for that.
Maybe, but kind of just in context of what you're saying, I mean, we're getting these like very serious moments and these very pivotal story beats tied up in this. And I mean, I don't know.
I didn't even register the peeing being bodily function because that was so mild in comparison. But I guess you're right.
I'm a girl. It's jarring.
Was that jarring? Really?
It was to me.
That is so funny.
It was to me. I'm a girl.
I'm like, they're just playing out the scene. They're standing by a tree.
Yeah.
Of course he would. Listen, just so you know, he would pee there.
I know.
Yeah, he really would.
Yeah, and if you got two boys chilling.
Yeah.
Like girls don't do that in my opinion, in my experience, But I think all that to say, I mean, it's an extremely bold move. It is bold and brash, but in some wild way, it worked out in their favor. And we've been saying, and I can't wait to see season 2 because this kind of style carrying on throughout the rest of the series is going to be super interesting.
Yeah. Crazy, really. I don't know how you're going to do that with Bennis and keep your shit together.
I don't know.
The possibilities are endless, y'all.
Well, the blooper reel,
I still
clearly
haven't watched
they weren't getting. There's more to come on that, but they weren't keeping it together.
Okay.
Much of this, I think, because of that. But it's a really, really bold move to be able to do that, and maybe this is a little bit of a stretch, but something that really stood out to me in this episode in particular, which we touched a little bit on Sunday, but was just way more in the forefront in the rewatch, was how much Egg is grappling with and dealing with the fact that he is a Targaryen and what that means for him and his potential madness complex. And so that in and of itself isn't favor. That's mockery. The gods aren't favoring anyone here. Not even Baelor or Dunk or Lionel. And you look at then, like I said, it's a little bit of a stretch, but it just made me think about everything that Egg is grappling with as he is dealing with his brother and what Darren says about him. He says, perhaps the seeds of madness are sown in the womb, as the maesters say. And I know he's talking about Aerion here, but this is all kind of tied into that sequence of events where Egg is pulling the knife and he's got his dad here, and there's just so much complexity as we think about Egg grappling with his identity. And then at the end, I completely missed this in the first watch when Dunk asks Egg, are you mad? And he says, is that relevant?
Yeah.
Yeah. to me, it was just so much more at the forefront in this episode than on my first rewatch, that Egg kind of has this brewing inside of him. This is not a gift. He may be the blood of the dragon. This isn't a favor. This is something that he has to wrestle with. And sure, he's about to go on this triumphant activity with Dunk, and he's about to take a path that neither of his brothers have taken, thanks to Dunk kind of pointing that out to his dad. But at the end of the day, he's a Targaryen, and he's going to eventually have to come to terms with what that means for him as a person. And I'm really happy that we got those seeds planted so not heavy-handed in a negative way, but just enough was planted here so that
instead of waiting till season 2.
Exactly. So when we get down the road, this all makes sense, because we had Egg try to kill his brother. We had Egg deal with what's going on with his hair as it kind of starts to grow back in, and he's wrestling with all these things. So I thought that was a really nice underlying, not too in your face narrative that was playing out while we were dealing with, Maekar, and, I don't need to repeat what happened in the episode, but you know what I'm saying? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
I just felt like that was a much stronger theme for me on the rewatch.
If that's a thing that he's worried about, then that's a shame, and that it's either good or he's wasting his time.
Yeah.
And I think that particularly Sam Spruell's Maekar, but also George's Maekar, does a really good job in this story of making those things be silly.
Yes.
Of making it not a reality that, like, of course they're not born mad. Of course we just raised you poorly.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But at the same time, is it really that? Or do the gods really play a game of chance before a Targaryen is born?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, what's the real thing? And so that being a possibility, still being present in A Night of Seven Kingdoms, especially in the last episode, is good for the potential world building, especially when things do start to go into Bloodraven directions.
It's also good for the rest of A Song of Ice and Fire in general, because we get this more complex view of what that actually means, instead of the very straightforward Game of Thrones track of, I'm Daenerys and I'm going to go mad,
right,
And so I was just super happy with that subtle droppings because we get
and for it not to turn out that way, hopefully it would be more, it'd be just powerful like this was.
Yes.
Still,
yeah, exactly.
In a way. I hope everyone watching TV are still into good stories by then.
Well, I think so.
This comes around.
I think so, just based on how many...
Based on how they like GOT, for one.
Because have you noticed how many people have been just back in talking about Game of Thrones, period?
In general, yeah.
And so I think that this has spurred the new era. So I don't think it's going to go away.
One thing missing from the show, from novella Maekar, that I really appreciated was this sort of moment where he's talking to Dunk under the tree, and he acknowledges that he was told that he might find wisdom underneath the tree. Ooh. He might find his answer underneath the tree. And that was also the same wiggliness that Egg might be feeling about his potential future. It's also the same sort of superstition that we're all feeling, and that cosmically might have been completed right there for him. Mm-hmm. And in the novella helps add to the magic of Westeros, helps add to the potential of someone as serious as Maekar believing in the magic in Westeros when it's so plainly put in front of him, helps you believe in the magic of Dunk, and helps the end of the novella flourish. But in this show, we got both. Yeah. We got real, and we also got the potential for all that. So, a week after, still good.
Still perfect.
LFG.
I miss it already.
First from X. I'm going to call this Hannah and Travis Cole own. You have to watch it on YouTube if you want to see what it is. And
from Ghost Kill Cersei 2K19, own to the Laughing Storm, telling Dunk, come with me to Storm's End and I will love you like a brother. Why do I have a sneaking suspicion that Baratheons love their brothers the way Targaryens love their sisters?
From Honey Piss, owned to Raymond Fossaway for the most productive weekend ever. Become a knight? Check. Took a beautiful wife? Check. Got a beautiful horse? Check. Established new personal heraldry? Check. Long live the green apples.
At DLogsy13, owned to Lionel's crutch with the antlers, and Egg's blonde stubble playing Velcro to keep that hat on.
Jessica Martinez, owned to the new Lady Fossaway. Hey, she's smart and funny, and he looks very happy.
Richard Gould, after rewatching the whole season in one shot, my own goes to the true professionals who, in dedication to their craft, service to Sir Arlen. May they have a cool stream to squat in.
May they. From Mrs. Duncan the Tall, I'm going to read all of these. To Raymond for getting Sweetfoot back. Honey will live her best life with a daily dose of green apples.
Beesbury funeral goals, OMG.
Crying face emojis to everything. Oh my God, I can die a happy person.
To I love you like a brother.
And to I have no business loving Maegor this much. That's how you do it own right there. A whole page.
At Hale Bopper says, own to Aemon Targaryen for following his dreams even when it caused his father to pretend he doesn't exist.
Hashtag last son my ass. Also, I'm going to add hashtag confuse everyone in the world about how many brothers Egg has.
So true.
907 Pro Jack Windsor, owned to the Laughing Storm. The caravan departs after the roast. Smash cut to the fire funeral.
So good. Jeff Lightfoot, the actor who plays Maegor, didn't understand him in the books. Now I do.
Mike the Benson, owned to Egg and that sweet vibe before his bells go off. Oof.
Wave Silo, owned a Sweetfoot, living out those days surrounded by fresh green apples.
Agnes Suski, owned to Sir Raymond. The seed is strong. Green apple.
Emma McChesney, owned to you guys for pumping out the content all season.
Thank you. Manny Season, my own goes to the hug. Peach emoji.
Oh,
and green apple emoji. No cap. It was such a good brotherly love depicted there. Pure.
It really was. Crocodile, owned to Lionel Baratheon's Maester, the most goth Maester in the Seven Kingdoms. Skull emoji.
Fartmouth 420. This was in response to Hannah's own, I think.
This is in response to my perfect meme. Thank you for supporting me. Shout out to you.
We need more owns from Fartmouth 420. And from Travis Cole. He fixed a picture of Dunk and put him holding Baja Blast. Please, more of this. We need more.
That's how he gets better. Mrs. Duncan the Tall, back at it again. Congrats to Raymond on his happy marriage and his future 7-month baby.
From Chelser, owned to Raymond for becoming a knight, getting married, and becoming a father within the span of 2 days. Crying emoji.
Charlene, 1836, owns to people like me who refused to watch it for fear of being burned again, and then I watched it and liked it. I knew nothing, Jon Snow.
Double Int Tandre, owned to Sir Arlen for finishing the story and raising up the finest knight in the 9 Kingdoms.
Unholy Kev, owned to Lionel for wanting his bro to come home with him and dropping the line of
fucking Apple Boy.
Always had us laughing all season.
Maegor retweets Corinna Martell, my own goes to Sir Raymond for turning up as a squire to his cousin and coming away with a knighthood, a horse, a new best friend, a wife, and hardly a scratch on him.
Classic con
Heart
vibe.
emoji. Apple emoji.
At the Gen Xer, owned to Dunk's fingers for being just numerous enough to count the number of kingdoms and have one left over in case he needs to point at or poke something.
From Team YouTube,
It was a wild week.
I just wanted you to see this last comment.
Jeez, yeah, the rich.
Sorry,
we
guys.
are super rich.
Thanks for YouTube for helping us out.
We're making millions.
Our huge account. From the Big Riblet, my final own is to horse retirement.
It's not so bad.
There's more from McRiblet.
Shayna Left, owned to Lady Rowan Fossaway of Newbarrow for shooting her shot and climbing the ladder.
True. Katie Hotch, owned to Sir Arlen, riding with Dunk and Egg.
Croc Argyle, owned to Sweetfoot, soon to be known as Sweet Tooth. Apple emoji, smiley face emoji.
A Huds and a bunch of numbers, Lionel, just the best.
Gary, son of Gary, owned to Sir Lionel for cheekily considering Dunk a brother, no matter where he decides to go.
That was nice. Livy Linetti, the magnanimous Lady Gwen, for being so mature about her disaster brie day.
Schmurda says, owned to stealing that song before the Fallout TV show could get to it.
Damn it. Vernon TR, my own is for Sir Raymond the MVP for buying back Sweetfoot. Love him.
SBJ2K1, owned to whoever wrote the line, a true knight always finishes a story. Couldn't stop thinking it was directed at GRRM. Time will tell if he heeds those words, but then again, quote, words are wind.
From Spandinov 22, owned to Dunk for having his mind blown. He just learned he's special, not just in the 7 Kingdoms, but 9.
Sir Brooksage, my own, goes to Maegor. He loved his brother. The tenderness he shows Egg, even knowing he came into the room to kill Aryan.
McRiblet, hey, They ruined the Penny Tree mystery.
So true.
They gave us the story.
Ryan B. 031183 owned to Egg for defying his father and giving up his privilege to squire a true Knight of the Nine Kingdoms.
From Ghost Chase Killa, owned to Red for bagging a good one, and owned to Dunk for not being quite as thick as a castle wall and playing along.
Kinda Monster owned to Raymond and his new wife spending their honeymoon chowing down at the funeral buffet. Bonus owned to the Scream I Scrumped when Lionel asked Dunk to come to Tarth with him.
From Eric Indy, I know this scene is a metaphor and it's extremely important to the story, but in my head canon, Arlen just saw a squirrel. I needed it to be lightened, honestly.
The McRiblet owned to that Fossaway hug going on a little bit too long.
Speaking of, from Abanara, owned to the Friends, like the soon-to-be dad Sir Raymond Fossaway, buying Sweetfoot, I almost called her Sweet Tooth, for Sir Duncan, and always having his friends back. Hashtag BFFs, heart hands, hashtag applesauce, hashtag cider baron, and 4 green apples for your boy.
For life. Dollar Bill Bookmark owned to Makar for seeing Egg about to unalive Arian and giving him a little hug to be like, bro, I get it, but please don't.
Abanara owned Lady Gwen Ashford for not taking any offense at the Trial of 7 overshadowing her name day. Hashtag already planning her next party. Hashtag Westeros Sweet 16 and party emojis.
Rosesmith95 owned to Makar for finally watching over one of his sons when Egg wanted to finish the job.
Yeah, it's a good time for it. From Maria, it's been a long day without you. Oh, I'm doing this all wrong, and I'm not going to sing it. Nope. I don't want to get upset, and I'll tell you about it when I see you again. Parentheses, I'll see you again.
Could not have been a better
Hashtag United Seven Kingdoms.
Sir Galahoo of what? My own goes to Henry Ashton's Darren, an actor who says so much with so few lines. His facial acting alone stood out in what was one of the best episodes of the season.
From Jason Alden, Lone Wolf Guardian, my own is for the creator's choice of music for the last episode. That sad jazz song for the beginning. Good. Then Tennessee Ernie Ford's 16 Tons for the ending credits, LOL. A song that you would never hear in Game of Thrones show.
At Straight Savage Cole, my own goes to Sweetfoot for subtly stealing the episode being brought back to Sir Raymond, green applesauce Fossaway, only to be sent with him to the orchards and then thrown riding away with Sir Arlen at the end of the episode, symbolizing Dunk and Egg on their truly own adventure.
And finally, our last own from Fox and Brambles, Ash says, my own goes to George for giving us these characters and this world.
Truly shout out. Thank you everybody who sent yours in. If you still want to send in your own for the finale, you still can. You can find us on Instagram, on X, on YouTube. You can send us an email to contact@gameofowns.com. And stand by because we will be collecting owns for the entire season. So keep an eye out on social for us to post that call and get ready for your own of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms Season 1.
Give us your owns. Tell us your favorite moments. Tell us your favorite scenes. Tell us your favorite parts of the season. We're going to be doing the same internally and coming back and having another conversation about this.
It's not over.